Yes, it's a top 8 tools video, a listicles video, if you will, but this one has a little bit of a twist as it is coming out on April 1st. That is April Fool's Day. So this is my top 8 tools that I wish I had, not to be confused with the top 8 tools I have, although they are kind of one and the same. So yes, April 1st, April Fool's Day, a listicle top 8 from me, because listicles are kind of a joke, and focusing on the tools that you don't have instead of the tools that you do have is kind of a joke. Joke's on you. And with that, let's start with number 1. That would be a Rotex sander. I currently have this model of DeWalt sanders. This is probably the same one you have or similar if you're in the DeWalt family. This sander is cordless, which I appreciate whenever I have to take it outside the home, but I can understand the argument that if you're attaching a hose to it, what does it matter if it's cordless? Now, a Rotex sander, I would really appreciate. My understanding is they work a lot better as far as taking off layers, sanding down smooth, a good grip, a good feel. Ergonomically, they're better. So yes, I would like to replace my DeWalt sander with a Rotex sander. And for number 7, a drill press. I am so tired of having to make little jigs so that I can get a perfect 45 degree angle on my drilling. Or the bit is really big and really scary to use freehand. We've all been there. You have a giant bit attached to your tiny drill. You pull the trigger and it goes through the wood, but it's a little scary. A drill press would eliminate all that for me, and I'd feel a lot more comfortable drilling out holes with Forstner bits. So drill press is my number 2. Numbers 3, 4, and 5 all kind of go together. It all comes down to finishing, surfacing, and milling my lumber. A jointer would be a great help. I could stop doing the old sled tricks on the planer, trying to get a parallel flat surface. So a jointer would help me there. And that leads me to our number 4, a planer, which I do have a planer, but I would like one with a helical head to it. Those I have experienced, and they give a much cleaner cut, and they're easier to work on. If one of the teeth goes out, you just open it up, pop out one of those little carbide tips, replace it or turn it, or whatever phase you're at with that specific tooth, and go about your merry way. Instead of having to pull out the entire blade because you got one little ding, flip it around, and now one side is just wasted. So yes, a helical head for my planer, or a planer that comes with a helical head. Either way, it would be a huge upgrade for my shop. Number 5, a drum sander. This kind of, again, goes hand in hand with the last 2 as far as surfacing and finishing. A drum sander would be greatly helpful. Greatly helpful? Extremely helpful, very helpful. I don't think greatly helpful works there. Extremely helpful when it comes to surfacing off the tops of certain builds. So if you got something with a lot of end grain facing up, a drum sander would clean all that off and level it out nice and smooth with a lot less tear out and issue that you would have with a planer head. Number 6, anybody that's familiar with me has heard me talk about this one, is a table saw. I'm currently working with the DeWalt job site table saw. It's a great saw, don't get me wrong, it gets the job done, but I would like to upgrade to a full cabinet saw. Something that can give me a little more precision and a little more control when feeding those boards through. Accuracy of cut, control of cut, just being able to be a little more precise in those cuts, I believe would take my game up a notch. Number 6. This one's a little bit controversial, but hear me out. A CNC router. Now, I don't need anything big. I don't need a 4x8. I don't need to do a full sheet of plywood all at once. A 3x3 would be really nice. So I could do some inlay work. I could do some small parts, just cut them out automatically out of, say, a piece of plywood. I could do templating. I could do batching. A CNC router would help me a lot in some of the things that I do that require creating several jigs just to gain control of the router. The CNC router is definitely on my list at number 6. And number 7 falls kind of in that same vein, and really either or type of situation. Both would be really fun, but a 3D printer I feel like would be a lot of fun as far as being able to print up various gadgets and gizmos for myself, but also for shop organization. Being able to build up perhaps some holders, fasteners, different ways of organizing the little bits and bobs in my tool cabinets, as well as creating different holders for hand tools, for power tools, for batteries, for accessories, for everything that goes in with the shop. That's right, 3D printer does have a place in my shop if I can get my hands on one. I know they're really cheap, but I don't really want a cheap one. I want one that works well, not one that works cheap, like me. Number 8, the Domino. A little controversial, I know. I do have a biscuit joiner, and I do have a doweling jig, both of which serve their purpose. The Domino, however, would eliminate the need for a doweling jig and give me greater precision and accuracy, much like the biscuit joiner. The biscuit joiner, very similar. I'm able to cut out that little disc shape, join the two pieces together with the biscuit in the middle. However, this is more for alignment, not so much for strength. The Domino, creating a mortise and tenon, the mortise and then the tenon coming from the actual domino itself. The Domino and the Domino. So there's the Domino, and then there's the Domino. The tool is called a Domino, and the part that you insert is called the Domino. It hurts my head. But the Domino, you have to agree, is a superior tool when it comes to that mortise and tenon action, if you will. So yes, number 8, the Domino. So those are my top 8 tools that I want to replace in my shop. If you agree, great. Don't say anything. Don't do anything. Just leave it be. But if you don't, let me know. I want to know what your top 8 are. What your top 3 are. What is your top number 1 tool that you want to replace in your shop? Please let me know. And we'll see you around.